Hey there, and welcome to Artistic Remedy. Today, we're going over the exact 2 formulas that you can apply right now to help with your eating disorder recovery. This video will show you how you can practice mindful eating or intuitive eating to ultimately overcome any sort of eating disorder. So make sure to watch this video until the very end, where we show you what mindful eating and intuitive eating are, and which one you should be doing when it comes to recovering from your eating disorder. Before we get into the video, make sure you hit that subscribe button to stay tuned for heaps of other free upcoming videos. For those that don't know, eating disorder is a very broad term, which talks about the physiological problems resulting in people developing unhealthy eating habits. Most common unhealthy eating habits because of eating disorders include not eating at all, binge eating, vomiting out food, or over-exercising. According to research, eating disorders develop because of obsession with food or body shape. But with that being said, today's video is designed specially to help those with eating disorders get back on track to living a happy life. So let's dive straight into the video. Starting at intuitive eating. Simply put, intuitive eating is the exact opposite of dieting, especially when it comes to eating disorders where extreme dieting can lead to patients becoming anorexic. Just in a short while, we will show you the top 10 principles of intuitive eating and how you can use it for eating disorders. Intuitive eating is what an average person eats like. For example, you might eat for a bit, then stop, or just eat whatever you want, whenever you want, without considering the number of calories you put inside your body. So simply put, intuitive eating is your everyday, simple eating habit, which some even call anti-diet. But it's worth noting that just because you are not on a diet doesn't mean that you are doing it wrong. If you are intuitively eating and it's working for you, then stick to it. Let your body tell you how you should eat. It's also worth noting that when we say you can eat whatever you want, whenever you want, on intuitive eating, then it's best that you only eat clean foods. Even though intuitive eating is just your regular way of eating, but we recommend that you try this way of eating, especially if your eating disorder is over-dieting. Because this non-diet style of eating is perfect in helping you break any cycles of chronic dieting and put you more in tune with your body by helping you to put on healthy weight without punishing your body. But as we mentioned, the beauty of eating is that your body will tell you everything. For example, if you begin to put on a lot of weight, then your body is telling you to eat more clean foods, not necessarily eat less, and vice versa. If you are going to try intuitive eating as a method of eating disorder recovery, then here are the 10 principles of intuitive eating you need to know. Principle number 1, reject the diet mentality. According to research, 95% of all diets out there don't work. This is because most of these diets are just fancy marketing tactics that work for a while, but once you skip a diet day, you are back to your old self. In fact, the diet system is already set up for failure, since it relies on willpower and teaches you to focus on body size. So when you intuitively eat, forget how you look like, but rather focus on what you feel like. As we said, your body will tell you all. Just let yourself tune in with your body, like the ancient man used to do. Which leads us on to principle number 2, honor your hunger. Simply put, if you are hungry, then eat. That is the most basic and simplest way you can be in tune with your body. But we are taught the dieting mindset that we will only get the ideal body type by staying hungry Reality is, if you try to ignore your hunger and don't eat the calories and carbohydrates your body is craving for, then you will trigger your body's primal drive to overeat. When our bodies enter this primal drive, this is when we get those hard cravings and appetite, which increase your chance of binging or feeling out of control around food. Especially for those with eating disorders, it's very important to begin practicing this principle so you can naturally determine when and what your body is asking for, which can be done through principle number 3, make peace with food. As soon as you begin to categorize food as bad or good, you are already setting yourself up for failure. Treat all foods as neutral, and the key word to keep in mind is unconditional permission. Give yourself unconditional permission to eat whatever you want. Because once you tell yourself you can't eat a certain food, you begin to feel deprived, which, as discussed, triggers your primal drive to overeat and have uncontrolled cravings. So the point here is to simply treat all foods as neutral and eat the right foods your body demands without feeling ashamed or guilty about it. Principle number 4, challenge the food police. As someone struggling with eating disorders, it can be very difficult to view eating as a normal, pleasurable activity. Much of this wrong mindset comes from what we previously discussed, where we categorize foods as good or bad. But this affects the person on a much deeper level. For example, if you ate salad for lunch, you would be proud of yourself, but if you got cravings and ate dessert, you would beat yourself over it, which is exactly the mindset of a person with eating disorder. The first step in recovering from this is to get rid of these rules that have been put in your mind by dieting gurus and treat eating like a normal, pleasurable activity. But this will take time to practice and recover from as a person with eating disorder. You can start to practice this by simply challenging these food police thoughts in your mind and view the act of eating as something fun. Whilst we are talking about fun, this leads us on to principle number 5, discover the satisfaction factor. You can be full but not satisfied. For example, you may have eaten your meal, but that craving is still lingering on at the back of your mind to eat a donut. If you don't eat that donut, you won't be satisfied. When you are not satisfied, you once again are depriving your mind and body, which can again trigger your primal drive. As Japanese wisdom suggests, find satisfaction in all areas of life. And since eating is a big area of life, it only makes sense that you find that correct balance between being full and satisfied when eating. This is truly when you will begin to recover from your eating disorder and move towards a more intuitive style of eating. But what does being full really mean? Which joins into principle number 6, feel your fullness. Listen closely to your body when you are no longer hungry. Now, we don't mean that you go full spiritual mode and start thinking yoga-type stunts to connect with your body, but a simple exercise like pausing in the middle of your meal and questioning yourself how the food tastes and what your current hunger level is can go a long way in helping you better understand your body and ultimately recover from your eating disorder. Because as anyone with eating disorders can tell you, dealing with the ups and downs can be hard. Which is where principle number 7 of intuitive eating comes in. Cope with your emotions with kindness. As we briefly mentioned, the first emotion you need to cope with is emotional eating. This can be done by you getting rid of food restrictions, which can trigger you to lose control. Not only is categorizing food as good or bad going to end up doing more harm than good to you, but you also need to understand your triggers when dealing with eating disorder recovery. The most common emotions that can lead you to eat emotionally and get out of control are anxiety, loneliness, boredom, and anger. So for some people with eating disorder, the problem is not with eating, but in controlling these emotions and triggers. And the best principle on today's list, which we cherish as should you, is principle number 8, respect your body. Before starting on any diet, to force your body to look like someone else's, it is very important that you understand that we are all built different. For example, if your shoe size is 10, you wouldn't force yourself to wear a size 9. Likewise, the most important principle you can understand is to not compete against anyone else but yourself. Try to get better than who you were yesterday, instead of someone else. This way, you will not force yourself to extreme limits, which will help you a ton in recovering from your eating disorder. And the last 2 principles that go very well with this principle are Principle 9 and 10. Principle 9, move and exercise. When we say exercise, we all jump to the conclusion of burning calories and hitting the gym. But in fact, this is another wrong mindset we have taken on from dieting society. When we say exercise, simply move around and be active. Exercising doesn't have to be hard or tough. It can be something you enjoy and simple. For example, walking, jumping rope, cycling, or just getting out into nature. As a rule of thumb, when exercising, focus on how it makes you feel, how it energizes your body and makes you happy. By practicing this, you will be well on your way towards staying active regularly, which is a good way of taking down many eating disorder triggers. And last but not least is principle number 10 of intuitive eating, gentle nutrition. You won't get fat if you skip a healthy meal or snack on some goodies for a sec. Remember that you don't have to eat perfect if you want to stay healthy. If you want to stay healthy, what counts is progress. The only way to make long-term progress is to allow yourself to eat foods that are not only healthy, but also taste good to you. So finding that balance between what your body needs and what you want is key when it comes to eating healthy in the long term and overcoming any eating disorder. But as we mentioned earlier, intuitive eating is all about eating whatever you want and whenever you want. This is why it may not be a good solution for some dealing with other types of eating disorders. This is where mindful eating comes in. Mindful eating is exactly what it sounds like. It's all about being in the present moment and paying full attention to each part of your meal. This means you are paying attention to everything from buying your food to preparing it, serving it, and consuming it. Just by simply paying attention to the things you are doing, it can lead you a long way in recovering from your eating disorder by stopping you from eating uncontrollably. A simple example of this is when you are eating food whilst watching TV. Since you are not mindful eating, meaning you are not paying attention to your food, but more to your TV, this can lead you to put on significant weight over time. According to Harvard University, one of the leading causes for national obesity is not fully paying attention to what and how you are eating food and not practicing mindful eating. So here are 8 simple tips to start mindful eating from today. Tip number 1, start with a shopping list. Having a shopping list is so underrated. When you have a shopping list, you will only buy things that you need and add value to your diet. This way, when you are shopping in the market, you will be less tempted to impulse buy things that are not on your list. So simply when preparing your list, really pay attention and be mindful of what you are putting on your list. And when you enter the market, stick to the shopping list. Tip number 2, eat food whenever you are hungry. When you skip 1 or 2 meals, like some struggling with eating disorder, then you starve your body to the point where its hunger levels skyrocket. This hunger level is not normal and can lead you to eat without control the next time you eat. You will only end up eating 1 big meal to cover the 1 or 2 meals you have skipped, which is very unhealthy for your body, because you are eating the size of 3 meals all at once. So whenever you feel hungry, eat, but only in healthy limits. This way your hunger levels won't skyrocket, and you will set healthy boundaries for yourself. Tip number 3, start with a small plate. It is recommended that you drink 1/3 water, eat 1/3, and leave 1/3 of your stomach empty, so you don't overindulge. The best way to do this is to get a small plate and put food on your plate less than you usually do. This way, if you want to eat more, you will know how much more to add to the plate without just filling up your plate all at once and having to finish all the food even if you are already full. This is a good way to stay mindful of how much you are eating and how much your body wants more. Tip number 4, appreciate your food. Now that you have your food on your plate in front of you, don't just start eating right away. First, take a deep breathe and pause for a moment or 2 to appreciate everything and everyone it took to bring you this meal. Even silently being grateful for the food will help you to truly understand the value of the food and be more mindful of what you are going to be eating. Now, this doesn't have to be some very spiritual act. It's just a way to pause and get yourself to pay attention and be truly mindful of your eating habits, which will help you a ton in your eating disorder recovery journey. Which leads us on to tip number 5, use all your senses to pay attention. This goes hand in hand with being grateful for your food. For example, when you cook, serve, and eat your food, you want to pay attention to the color of the food, how it smells, sound, texture, to really get all your 5 senses involved. This is truly the best way to be mindful of your food. Even when you are eating your food, try to identify the type of seasoning used and how it tastes or feels. Not to make it seem weird, but just simply practicing this tip alone will help you a long way in stopping impulse eating, because now you are the one in control of eating. Tip number 6, eat with small bites. When you take small bites, you can feel and taste the food more. So, just as a quick eating hack, be sure to put your spoon or fork down between each bite. This will help you focus on your food more. Tip number 7, chew through your food. When you chew a lot, the more taste you will get. So before you swallow, make sure to squeeze out all the taste and really chew your food to maximum to get the most out of it. Tip number 8, eat slowly. We understand that it might be difficult and even seem a bit weird to do some of these mindful eating tips. As a rule of thumbs, try to dedicate at least 5 minutes of every meal to solely practicing these tips. After that, by all means, chat with your friends, watch TV, because let's face it, we can't live without it. So when it comes to eating disorders recovery, there are so many problems that comes along with it. But by practicing intuitive eating to get rid of the dieting mindset and starting to practice mindful eating, you'll become more in tune with your body to understand when it needs to eat. This will make you in control of your eating habits instead of your eating habits controlling you. This reminds us of a quote If you don't control it, it will control you. Remember, this is a game of patience. Eating disorders won't disappear overnight. Simply begin to practice some of the tips we discussed today and understand the benefits behind them. This will help you a ton in your eating disorder recovery. If you are dealing with any type of eating disorder or have used other tricks that have worked, we would love to know your experience in the comments below, as do other people dealing with eating disorders. For more videos like this, make sure to subscribe, and we will see you in our next video.